Today's story is Mr. Chatterbox. Mr. Chatterbox was one of those who simply couldn't stop talking. He used to talk to anybody and everybody and about anything and everything, going on and on and on. See, there he is, talking to a worm. And on and on and on. Still talking to the poor worm. And on and on and on. Poor worm. And when he didn't have anybody else to talk to, he used to talk to himself. "Good morning, Mr. Chatterbox," he used to say to himself. "Good morning to you," he replied to himself. "Nice day, isn't it?" "Yes, it is for this time of year." And so on, and so on, and so on. Worm left, so he's talking to himself. He lived in a box-shaped house in a village, Chatterbox Cottage. Chatterbox Cottage. One morning, the postman arrived with a letter for him. "Good morning, Mr. Chatterbox," said the postman. Good morning to you, postman," replied Mr. Chatterbox, "although I was saying to myself only yesterday, or was it the day before? I forgot, however. It's not quite as good a morning in my opinion, but I might be wrong, although I'm not often very wrong, as it was the other day. Monday, I think it was, or perhaps was it Tuesday, but never mind, because it is quite a good morning. Don't you agree?" "Yes, of course you do, because that's what you said to me in the first place." And he went on and on and on all morning, and the poor postman was late for delivering his letters. There he is, talking the postman's ear off. That afternoon, Mr. Chatterbox went into the hat shop in the village. "Hello, Mr. Bowler," he said to the man who owned the hat shop. "Do you think it is possible that I could buy, if it's not too expensive, but I'm sure it won't be, a new hat because you believe it?" "Yes, of course you would, but anyway, as I was saying, my present hat, the one on my head, as you can see, is getting, how can I put it, a little too old, because I've had it for, let me see now, it must be, let's think, 10 years? No, I tell a lie. It can't be that long, or can it? Well, yes, it could be, but on the other hand..." And he went on and on all afternoon and half the night, long after poor Mr. Bowler should have shut shop and gone home. There he is, talking the shopkeeper's head off. Eventually, Mr. Bowler managed to get a word in edgewise, or was it sideways? He promised to order a new hat for Mr. Chatterbox. Then he pushed Mr. Chatterbox out of his shop, still talking, of course, and went home for his supper, which was cold, of course, because Miss Bowler had cooked it for him hours ago. And while he ate, he thought, there they are, leaving the shop. Exactly 1 week later, a new hat for Mr. Chatterbox arrived in a smart red hat box. The postman delivered it to Mr. Bowler's shop. At last, Mr. Bowler heaved a sigh of relief. "I think this hat is going to be the answer to the problem of Mr. Chatterbox talking so much." "I wish it could be," said the postman, "but how can it?" "Because," Mr. Bowler said, "this is a magic hat." "Oh," replied the postman, who didn't quite understand. There they are with the hat box. That afternoon, Mr. Bowler took the new hat round to Chatterbox Cottage. "Oh, goody," said Mr. Chatterbox, seizing the hat box and opening it. "It's my new hat, my lovely new hat. I couldn't wait for it to arrive. In fact, I got up early this morning because, aren't I silly? I just knew. I don't know how, but I really knew. You know, that today would be the day. I don't know how I knew, but I knew. And it is. And here is my hat. And oh, isn't it beautiful? I can't wait to try it on. Oh, I hope it suits me. Do you think it will? Yes, of course. And why don't you try it on, said Mr. Bowler, grinning. There he is, Mr. Chatterbox, with his red hat box. Try it on. Yes, of course it must. I must try it on. How silly of me to stand here chattering on when I haven't tried it on. Yes, I will. Absolutely, definitely. Try it on straight away because, as I said, it's silly to just talk about trying it on and then not trying it on, isn't it? And so on. He took the hat out of the box and put it on. It was a beautiful hat. There he is. He's finally got the hat on his head. I say, he said. I must say, really. Yes, I really must. That this hat is, yes, it really is, to say the least, one of the better hats that I have had in my life. And I must say, I have seen some hats. And furthermore, but while he was talking, a funny thing was happening. The more words that came out of Mr. Chatterbox's mouth, the larger his hat became. The more Mr. Chatterbox talked, the more the hat grew and grew. There he is with the hat getting bigger and bigger. Mr. Chatterbox kept talking and the hat kept on growing. I can't see anything, he said. 1 minute I was standing here looking at my new hat in the mirror, and now all of a sudden, without any warning, taking me all unaware just like that, the hat grew down to his feet and Mr. Chatterbox stopped talking. There he is in his enormous hat. As soon as he stopped talking, the hat grew smaller and smaller until it was the same size as when he first tried it on. Mr. Bower had gone when Mr. Chatterbox couldn't see him, and now he was walking back to his shop. My special magic hat really works, he chuckled. There he is, Mr. Bowler. The following day, Mr. Chatterbox was out for a walk when he met the postman in the village. Hello, postman, he said. I say, do you like my new hat? Have you ever seen such a fine hat? I'm sure you never have. What a hat, but you know what was happening, don't you? There he is, starting to chew the postman's ear off. The hat grew and grew and grew the more Chatterbox talked. Now, I know that Mr. Bowler meant by a magic hat, chuckled the postman. And he went on his way, leaving poor Mr. Chatterbox speechless. He thought, thinking, not talking, thinking. There he is, Mr. Postman, running away with a big smile on his face. And do you know something? That hat taught Mr. Chatterbox a lesson. And these days, he doesn't talk half as much as he used to, or even a quarter as much. And you know the reason for that, don't you? Yes, of course you do. But there he is. He's going to start talking the worm's ears off. Keep it under your hat. The end. All right, sweetie. You have a good night. Sweet dreams. Love you.